All right, everyone, thank you for filling out our chat box. If you're just joining us, welcome. We are excited to have you all join us for the information session and also are looking forward to you coming to Washington, D.C. in the fall. Start just with a few introductions, letting you know who we are.
I'm Sarah Beamer Harlow, and I'm the incoming student advisor for a good portion of you. I have home institutions in Asia, the Americas, Europe, and Oceania.
And I am Desiree Maruka, and I am the incoming student advisor for a few of you. I have home institutions in the United Kingdom, Ireland, Turkey, and the Middle East. So both Sarah and I work pretty closely with the incoming students, and we are both available through the abroad@au@american.edu email. So this is the email for our entire program, and it's the best way to kind of get in touch with us, whether you have questions or concerns or things that come up. There are a few different people who check that email, so it's the best way for us to be able to answer you in a timely fashion. If you have questions about other departments on campus, such as housing or dining or other things that may come up, it's best to email us first, and we actually ask that you do go ahead and write to the abroad@au email before contacting anyone else on campus, and that is simply because oftentimes what will happen is those departments end up just forwarding your email back to us anyway and letting us answer your questions. So in order to kind of get those questions and be able to answer them for you quickly, it's better just to go ahead and write to us at abroad@au@american.edu. There's been a little bit of confusion so far because our office actually does have two emails, so make sure you're writing to abroad@au and not AU abroad. If you write to AU abroad, we will get that email forwarded to us from the other part of our office, but it just is going to take a little bit longer and delay us being able to answer those questions. So make sure you're writing that email down, and you've all gotten emails from that account already. So you should be able just to reply back to those, and we'll be sure to answer your questions.
Okay, so Ethan Merritt is also a student advisor. He's not here right now, but he advises for students coming from Waseda University. And then Ashley.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Ashley Holst and I am the program assistant for Abroad at AU. I am actually a graduate student in the School of International Service here on campus. So not only do I get to plan events and work on orientation for all of you, but I also am able to answer some of your questions about campus life and just what to expect at American University from an educational standpoint. So if you have any questions about that, I can also help you out there.
So this is what we'll be talking about today. We will start off with J1 visa information and travel plans. Even if you are an U.S. citizen, which we do have a few of, please be sure to listen to this section. There are still appropriate things about travel plans you'll need to listen to. Housing, we're going to talk about both off-campus and on-campus housing because some of you have been offered on-campus housing. Some of you have not, but we'll go over both of those things. Health insurance and immunizations. I still can't say that word, Desiree. But we'll go over what's required and when you need to have it by, etc., etc. Registration information and what types of classes you take, when you can get actually registered. And then we'll finish off by going over things about orientation. Ashley will be joining, well, she is already here, but she'll be really joining us to do that section, lead you in that section. And I've noticed a few of you have actually added or jumped in since we first started. If there are any questions throughout today's presentation, absolutely type your message in on the chat box. And if it's applicable to what we're talking about right at that moment, we'll certainly answer it while we're going through. If we feel it's best answered at a later time, we will hold off any of those messages for later. Your support documents will be mailed to your international office at your home university. We typically do not mail them to the students themselves, partially because we work as partnerships with your home university. There are a few exceptions, but in general, expect them to go to the international office at your home institution. We are starting to send them this week. But it could be through the beginning of May that you really start to receive them. So hang tight if you have not received it yet. You should soon. You'll get a full packet of things when you do get your acceptance document. That you should follow the directions in that packet to apply for your J-1 visa when you come to the United States. It's really important that you pay your SEVIS fee before you actually request your interview, and that you bring your receipt with you when you do go to your interview as well. The first day, we said this in your acceptance email, but the first day you'll be able to enter the United States on your J-1 visa is August 1st. I've had some questions about that, on whether we could move that date earlier. We cannot move that date in any way, shape, or form. That's the U.S. government's date. They give you a 30-day entry period before your documents begin, and the documents are set to begin when classes begin. So we cannot change that. For you, the students who are coming here for the fall, your end date is December 23rd. You'll also have 30 days after the end of your visa, or the end of your DS 2019, to stay in the United States. So you don't have to leave on December 23rd. You have through mid-January to leave. And separately for the academic year students, your end date will be May 15th. Same thing, you'll have 30 days to leave after that date. When you're actually traveling to the United States, you need to be sure to bring your DS 2019 along with your passport. You cannot have a copy of this document. You need the original document. We have had students who have forgotten it, and it's a really big hassle if you do. So just make sure that you bring your DS 2019 original DS 2019 along with your passport. Okay, so while you're making your travel plans, this is a lot of words, wow. If you plan to live on campus, and you should know if you were offered on-campus housing through your acceptance email. Again, we'll go over that in a second. The dorms do not open until Saturday, August 22nd at 9 a.m. You cannot stay on campus before that day. Again, as I mentioned on the previous slide, you can certainly enter the United States before that day, but if you arrive before August 22nd and you plan to live on campus, you have to make your own plans of staying somewhere. Whether you're traveling around the country or you're staying in a hotel in DC, that's fine, but you do have to, wait until the 22nd. We suggest most students, if you're going to stay on campus, arrive August 23rd or 24th. We will begin orientation on the 23rd, 24th. We have some shipping trips apparently instead of shopping trips, and some dinner meetups. So it's not mandatory until that Tuesday, but there will be other things that you can do and kind of relax and settle in while you before we actually start orientation. If you're living off campus, students have told us that they tend to like to arrive a week or two early. That's just to try to find places to live, or if not that, to kind of settle in, because you have more to do often than the people who live on campus. The last day of finals is December 14th, 2015. If you live in the dorms, you must leave within 2 days. I believe it's noon on the 16th. So don't, again, you are welcome to stay in the United States past the 16th, but you have to have your own accommodations if you stay past the 16th. This is actually true also for the academic year students. There is a way that you can apply for on-campus housing during the break, but you will have to move out of your room on December 16th. You can go ahead and make your travel plans now. You can start getting your flights and all of that, but you just keep these things in mind while you're doing that.
We're going to move into our housing. So we're going to focus first on-campus housing, and then I will talk about some of our off-campus housing details. So if you have been offered on-campus housing in your acceptance letter and you would like to take it, then you need to complete the separate application as soon as possible. An email was sent to you yesterday with the details, all of the steps, as well as the link to that application. So make sure that you are reading through that and filling out what is required of you. The preferred deadline to apply for on-campus housing is May 15th. So make sure that you're doing that. We suggest just going ahead and doing it as soon as possible so you know it's done, but definitely make sure that it is taken care of by the 15th. In order to access the application and complete it, it will require your MyAU portal login information, so make sure that you have already created your student account. For the most part, a lot of you have already done that. But if you still need to do that step, then make sure that you are completing that. If you're having any difficulties with the application, getting it submitted, filling out any of the questions, please email us at abroad@au@american.edu and make sure you're including your name, your AU ID, and it's really helpful if you can send screenshots of what page you're having difficulty with, or if you're getting an error message, something like that. That way we will be able to see what's going on and provide you the most useful information for moving forward.
One thing I forgot to note about students will learn about their on-campus housing at the end of the summer. Do not worry if you don't hear by June 15th where you're living. You will likely hear in early August, maybe late July, but certainly early August. So don't be surprised if you don't know for quite some time.
All right, for off-campus housing options, if you were not offered a spot on campus, then you will be independently responsible for finding a place for yourself off campus. So we want to talk just a little bit about what some of your options are and some of the resources that are available to you. If you are living off campus, and you also received an email from us earlier this week kind of giving you some more details and some more information about some of the things I'm going to cover. So please make sure that you're reading that email as well as the required readings for off-campus housing. So what are your options? Most of our students tell us that the best resource for off-campus housing is the AU Housing and Dining Off-Campus Housing Guide that was sent out to you, as well as a letter from the Off-Campus Housing Coordinator. This is a person specifically in our housing and dining office on campus whose job it is to be a resource and a person to kind of talk to and someone to help you identify locations off campus, types of apartments, help with any questions you might have about DC regulations, things like that. His name is Dan, and again, that information was emailed out to you earlier this week, so please feel free to contact him. You can email or Skype with him if you have any serious concerns or more questions about what the off-campus situation is for American University. And then there is also a housing and dining run posting site where different apartments, different roommates, different people in the area kind of advertise their places, their spots, and availability for the fall semester or academic year for living off campus. Most of our students have told us this year and in the most recent previous years that they actually were most successful in finding roommates and places to live through an AU Facebook group that's called Housing. This is a private group on Facebook that is something you request access to and we'll be able to approve you, and then you can actually read through, and it's where for the most part, AU students are actually posting when they're looking for someone to live with, or they have a spot in their apartment, something like that. So you can actually read through. A lot of times they'll post pictures or a floor plan, something like that, of their apartment, as well as the price and the details and all of that. This Facebook group is also helpful because you can actually post your own call for apartments. So you can write something like, "Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm from Germany, and I'm going to be studying at American University this fall, and I'm looking for 3 other roommates, in a 5 to 10 minute walk from campus," something like that. So you can actually post, and then people will come back and they will respond to you saying, "Hi Sarah, we'd love if you can join our apartment in the Berks," which is a location close to campus. Another resource that students have told us was helpful was other students who are abroad at AU alumni. So if you have other students on campus or at your institution who studied here maybe a year or 2 years ago, they could be really helpful in letting you know what neighborhoods they liked or how they found their apartment, if they lived in a house, something like that. A lot of our students said that by talking to other alumni, they were able to get some more inside information about where to live and how to sort of handle that. So one thing to keep in mind is that you are ahead of the game if you're looking for housing right now. So believe it or not, most of the students at AU are currently looking for summer roommates and to find places to live over the summer. So for the most part, if you are to get onto the housing site, which you're definitely welcome to do at this point, you're going to see a lot of posts for summer housing. We would say by June, maybe early July, is when people will start really aggressively posting and looking for roommates for the fall semester. So we know a lot of times when we send this email out or we start giving the information to students, they want to book something for the fall right now. And that's great if you can and if you're able to do that. But just keep in mind that it's okay if you don't have anything as the summer sort of begins here and we kind of roll closer to the semester, because as you'll see, most students are still kind of figuring out what they're going to do for the fall, and then once they get settled, they'll be looking for roommates and have spaces available and things like that. We have had students who have come to DC in August without a place to live, and they always are successful in finding roommates or places to live off campus. We've never had a houseless student. Everyone always finds a spot, they get housing, and they're able to, stay near campus and really actually enjoy their experience with American roommates or the apartment living around the area.
Hey Desiree, what's the best place? What places will a lot of people see?
Yeah, so for the most part, I would say you're going to see, there's 2 apartment locations that are right off campus, and they are called the Berkshires or the Berks, Berks. So you'll see a lot of postings for that apartment complex. They have everything from studios to 3-bedroom apartments. And then the second most common one you'll see is the Avalon, and they have as well 1 and 2-bedroom apartments available. And so you'll see students posting for different options for those things. Neighborhoods that I wowould say you'll see most often will be Tenleytown, which is it's where campus is located. It's considered our metro stop. So Tenleytown, things like Spring Valley, Friendship Heights, Cleveland Park, Glover Park, and maybe a little bit of Bethesda. So those are some different neighborhoods, and all of this information, such as the apartment buildings and the places you'll see and the distances, are all going to be found on that off-campus housing guide that we sent you out and which is available online through our housing and dining website.
But if you do ever have any questions, you can certainly either email abroad@au@american.edu, or you can also email the off-campus housing coordinator directly as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we don't see any questions, so we're going to keep moving forward. The next thing we're going to talk about is health insurance and your immunization form. So you should have seen these things on your checklist. Okay.
Go ahead.
I'll go ahead and just answer this question since we haven't really gotten started on this slide yet. So we have a question here that says we shouldn't worry too much about directions or getting to the AU campus. So as far as arriving when you first get here in August, we do have directions available online as well as through our Facebook page that kind of tell you how to get here from the most common airports in the area that you'll probably be flying into. So you can get to us by public transportation from some of them, or you can take a taxi to AU. If you're living on campus, then that will probably be your first stop in Washington. So you can just come straight here and you'll have the address, and most people know where American University is in Washington, D.C. if you were to tell a taxi or something like that. But we will be sending out directions like closer in the summer as we get started on orientation. Sending out orientation details and reminders and things like that will give you more information about actually finding AU in DC. Would you advise booking plane tickets now or waiting until we have got accommodation? Yeah, I would say go ahead and start looking at those flights. Definitely consider for yourself whether you want to get here a couple days early or right on time or a week early. That's going to be up to you, but as far as the travel plans, we just ask that you please arrive at the latest by the evening of the 24th, because starting the morning of August 25th, that Tuesday, you will have mandatory orientation. But I wouldn't say to wait on booking your ticket until you have accommodation, because you will probably be still working that out as the summer comes closer, and you definitely want to get your cheap flights when they're available to you. All right, so jumping on with health insurance, the first thing we will say about the student health insurance plan is that we do strongly recommend that you utilize the AU student health insurance. We have had students in the past who have decided to waive this coverage and have ended up getting sick or having a problem, and they have that's resulted in huge medical bills that they were not prepared or really able at the time to pay. So we know AU's health insurance can seem expensive, especially depending on your home country and what healthcare plans you may have in those countries. But if you actually follow the required guidelines and the laws and restrictions of what's required as a student at American University, you'll find that our health insurance is pretty reasonable in the U.S. healthcare system. So American healthcare can be extremely expensive, and navigating it can be really difficult, again, depending especially upon what you may have been used to already. So with the AU policy, you know for a fact that you're being covered for all of the requirements that they have, and laws that they have in DC, and your primary care physician is going to be right here on campus. So we do ask that you really take that seriously, read through your options, and consider if that is going to be a better plan for you. If you would like to waive the insurance, if you're already covered by a plan, or if you'd like to do some research and purchase your own plan, that is okay. You just need to make sure that you've waived your insurance by August 1st. So this will be a form that you'll complete online. You'll send directly to the AU Student Health Center, and you'll need to make sure that your insurance meets every requirement that we have stated through that waiver. One of the things that most students don't have, or that they don't pay attention to when they're buying their own insurance plan, is making sure that the policy comes with a U.S.-based claims office. So in order to waive the insurance, it must have a United States phone number connected to your policy, as well as a claims office right here in the U.S. So please make sure, as you're doing kind of your own research, or you're buying your own plan, or you're looking at the plan you already have to see if it's going to be able to waive you out of this one, that you are taking all of the different steps and kind of making sure that it meets all of those different requirements. Okay? The second thing is the mandatory immunization form. This is required for all students, so it doesn't matter what your visa status is or where you're coming from, what you plan on studying. Every single person who is under the age of 26 must complete the mandatory immunization form. This form is also due on August 1st, so it is something you'll need to print out over the summer or over the next few months, have completed by your doctor, and sent before you most likely arrive to Washington, D.C. The immunization form basically is a list of all of the required shots and immunizations that you must have. This is DC regulation. It's not even something American University has decided. It's actually law for the location where you'll be studying. And basically what you'll do is just bring it to your doctor. Your doctor will fill it out, sign off that you've received the different shots or that you are in the process of receiving your series of shots, and then you will just send the form directly to the health center. All of the instructions for submitting that form will be included on the front page, so it should be pretty easy once you've gotten the updated form. This has not been yet sent out for next year, but as soon as it is, hopefully sometime early summer, in the next couple of months, then in the next hopefully month or two, you can go ahead, bring it to your doctor, have it filled out, and get that done ahead of time so you're not worrying about it as you get ready to leave and have a bunch of other things to work out. Okay, so if you are coming for the fall semester, we want to make one kind of note about the insurance. The health insurance is billed by the full year, so you will need to pay for the entire year of health insurance up front. But once you complete your semester or the semester is coming to a close, you will be able to request a refund for the spring portion of your insurance. So you'll pay in August for your full year of insurance, but then obviously if you're leaving in December and not using that insurance for the full year, then you'll be able to request for a refund for the remaining part of the insurance that you're not going to use, and you'll be able to get money back for that. Any questions about health insurance or immunizations? All right, so make sure you're working on that, and we will move on to registration.
Yay! I know you guys are all excited to figure out what classes you're going to get and all of that. Most of you have already submitted your $500 deposit, but if you have not, you must do it. We will not clear you for courses if you have not paid your deposit. You also have to do your course clearance form online. We've received a lot of them, but we have not received them all. And you have to read through the course selection and registration form in the portal in order to register for the classes. So we're going through each individual student record and seeing if you have the prerequisites to take the classes. And if you don't, we're not clearing you for them. But if you do, we can certainly clear you for the courses. If you send the form to us by 5 p.m. our time today, we guaranteed that you'll be cleared for classes by the time that registration begins on Monday. That is, again, today at 5 p.m. Most of you have already submitted it, so it's not really that big of a problem. But if you haven't, we'll try to get it to you before Monday, but there's certainly no guarantee. If you don't register on Monday, that's not necessarily a problem. But you risk, if there's only one spot left in the class and you register on Tuesday instead, somebody else could potentially get that class on Monday. And specific instructions are given in the course selection and registration. Required reading on your portal about how you should be selecting the courses and all of that. We'll go over some of that briefly here. We will also go pretty in depth on how to do the actual registration in your portal on Monday. One thing to note that if you're currently taking a course that you want to use as a prerequisite, we most likely don't know that you're taking that course, because we have your transcript from last semester, not from this semester. So you need to let us know what you're currently taking. We want some kind of confirmation of what you're taking, and it needs to be in English. Then separately, you'll need to bring your updated transcript with you when you arrive in August. So the question that we've just gotten is, when we register for courses next week, is it guaranteed to participate in this course? The answer is yes, if you actually get a spot in the course. So we'll go over more in depth about the wait list in a few minutes. If you're on the wait list, no, it's not guaranteed. But if you actually get a spot in the course at registration, you are guaranteed a spot. What time does registration begin? I believe it's midnight.
Midnight.
I'm fairly positive it's midnight. So go ahead and try at midnight our time. If it doesn't work, try another hour later.
Yeah. So it'll be 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So just like you did for this meeting, go in, convert that to what time it will be for you, and then it should let you right into the registration portal after that 12 o'clock time.
We will, when we send out our course clearance email, we'll tell you more about this. But you must register for 12 credits. That's a full-time load at American University. So even if you don't get into your top choices, you should be registered at 12 credits. It is a requirement for our program and for and certainly for your visa as well. You cannot register for any internship courses or restricted courses. That doesn't mean you can't do an internship, and we'll talk about that a little bit more certainly during orientation. If you have some questions, we may be able to answer them now, but you just can't get credit for an internship, so you can't take an internship course. There are certain restrictions on courses that I'm going to go into on the next slide. But just in general, you should know that course levels are listed here. So 1 to 200 level courses are very introductory. So if you have never taken a psychology course before, you should not give us one in the 3 to 400 level, because you don't have that base knowledge to take that course. 3 to 400 level courses are typically advanced coursework. So that means that you've already taken the introductory classes, maybe a couple of them even, and you understand the basics of that field. 500 levels are advanced courses taken in the last year. A lot of these are closed to abroad at AU students. It depends by the department. Some will absolutely 100% always be closed. Others might be open to you. You can certainly ask. We will let you know. One thing some students always get confused about is, well, I'm a third-year student, so I need to take a 300 or 400 level class. But that's not the case if you've never taken that sociology class or psychology introductory class. Then you can take a 100 level class in that time. We did get one question about that a university requires you to take 15 credits. Would that be possible, or do you only get to take 12 credits? It depends on the university and about how you are listed at American University. Most likely you will, depending on your university, it will depend. You will know for sure, but based on the email we send to you about course clearances, whether or not you can take more than 12 credits. What if I can't get a spot in the courses that I've been cleared for? Can I get further clearance for other open courses? Absolutely. We can work with you throughout the summer to get any other kind of clearance. You're not limited to those 8 courses. You can even submit it right now. If you want to submit another form, you can do that. If it's after we send out your registration email, though, we ask that you request those future courses through the Abroad at AU email address rather than the form, because we're not monitoring the form as much. I've handed in the course form, but there is 300 to 400 level. Do I need to change my choice? Not necessarily. Again, we will go over all of that in your course clearance email, which I hope to send out today, tomorrow, certainly by Friday, if you have sent us everything by today at 5. What is a cross list? Is Sasha, are you asking, Sashmar, are you asking about a cross list, or are you asking about a wait list? I'm not quite sure. We'll come back to that.
I think a course list.
I'll come back to you in a second, Sashamara. So these are course restrictions. You cannot register for certain classes as an Abroad at AU student. So any kind of program restrictions that are honors, mentorship, anything like that, they will say open only to students in the honors program or open only to students in the mentorship program. You cannot do those because you are not part of that select program at AU. Even if you were a freshman student at AU, you could, and if you weren't part of those groups, you also could not participate in that, or you couldn't register for those classes. And you also cannot register for any classes that say open only to students in, and then it says SIS or Kogod Business or something like that. So in this case, it's certain classes specifically, like certain sections of a certain class. So maybe you can't register for section 2, but you can register for section 3 or 4. So just keep that in mind, that certain sections might be closed to you. Kogod School of Business has some specific restricted courses. And I'm not going to read them all out to you. These are on our website. You can look them over. If you requested to take any of these, we will not allow you to do so. Also, the School of Communication is our most restricted area to take courses. If you are requesting a lot of SOC classes, we will be looking at the courses that you can actually register for. So please be sure to look at that list beforehand. Okay, so let me see. As far as questions that are coming in, if you send a course clearance form request, we'll know by Friday if you've been accepted for those courses. So you will know if you are clear to register for those courses on Monday. When we send the email, it doesn't mean that you are registered in the courses. It means that you are clear to register yourself on Monday in those courses. So X-list means cross-list. And in the case of this, as Sashamar is asking, there's CAP enroll, X-list CAP, and X-list enroll. Some courses are cross-listed, which means that there are classes in, say, sociology and history that are actually the same courses, but they have 2 separate course numbers. In that case, they can take a certain number in, say, the history section of it, and they can take a certain number in the sociology section of it. So the total number might be 15, but history, you can only 7 people can enroll in the history course. I hope that makes sense. Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit more about the actual registration process and what will happen sort of between now and Monday, and then what will happen on Monday when you register.
So, sorry, we're trying to look over our questions.
Okay, yeah. So, but basically, most of you have probably already done this. If you have so far already submitted your course clearance form, but we're just going to review again what you will do. So it's pretty easy. You're just going to Google American University schedule of classes. That is the best way actually to find this website. It's what I do every time. So Google American University schedule of classes. You'll choose fall 2015, and then you will choose the subject you would like to browse. So if you're looking for international business classes, for example, you will scroll down and click IBUS, I-B-U-S, and every subject is listed there. So you just scroll through and then you can click which subject you'd like to see. When you are actually looking for classes to register for, we suggest, it's not a requirement, but we suggest that you move your section status to maybe open, because that will tell you exactly what classes have spots available for you. But you don't have to change that. You can do open and closed, and I'll talk on the next slide about what that will mean for the actual class. So choose your semester, choose the class you'd like to see, and then what will come up is this next page. So let's say you decided to look for American Studies. Then this is the page that will come up to you. So let's go through and we're just going to look at the different sections and what this will mean for registration. So at number 1, you can see that American Studies 240 is open. That means that this class is available, it has spaces, and you will be able to directly register yourself and have a guaranteed spot in that class available to you after registration. However, you cannot actually choose this course because it is only open to students in the Community-Based Research Scholars Program. So that's an example of some of the restrictions that Sarah was mentioning to you and how they will be listed. The FA4.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that is listed after American Studies 240 is FA4, and that means Focus Area 4, and that is just a note for undergraduate students at American University that is part of our general education program. So that is not going to limit you or prevent you from taking that class unless there is another specific note sort of listed under the course. So you don't need to be concerned about anything that says FA on it. Those are just notes for undergrad students at AU about how that class will count in their degree, but it won't impact you. The number 2, lower down in SISU 230, has a wait list of 9 people. So that means that the class is technically still available, but there is going to be a wait list of 9 people. So if you were to register for that class, then that means you would be the 10th person on the wait list, which we will talk about in more detail on the next slides, but just so you know what that's going to look like on the schedule. Number 3 is a closed course. That means that this course has had all of its seats taken and the waitlist has already reached its maximum. So at this point, you will not be able to register or be on the waitlist for that class. So you should find a different course that meets your need. And then 4 is pretty self-explanatory. It means that that class has been canceled and it is no longer being offered for the fall semester. So you definitely wouldn't want to be registering or you won't be able to register for a class that says canceled. So let me just go through. So yes, you're going to be Googling American University schedule of classes. And that will bring you up to our previous page where you can choose fall 2015 and your subject. So as far as recommended courses, there are hundreds of courses in the American University catalog, so we really can't make recommendations for you in general. If you have a specific major or something you'd like to focus on, we're happy to maybe send you a couple suggestions of classes that students have really enjoyed, but you're going to have to maybe email us and let us know a little bit more specifically about what you'd be interested in taking, just because talking now to 26 people, everyone's going to have a different idea of what the perfect class for them is based on maybe their career goals or what they'd like to study while in Washington, D.C. So Amy, we will get to your question actually on our next slide. So if you just hold on tight, I will talk about what the rest of the page kind of means for registration. Okay, so talking just a little bit more to answer Amy's question and also to give you guys more details about specifically what all of the rest of this information means for registration. So yes, TF, MTH, W will all be listed under the specific section of the course, and what that stands for is the days that those classes are being offered. So TF means you're going to have that class on Tuesday and Friday. MTH means you'll have that course on Monday and Thursday. That does not mean that you get to choose whether you go to class on Tuesday or Friday. It means that every single Tuesday and Friday you will go to that class at the time that's listed. So our first bubble at the top says that class is from 11:45 to 1 p.m. So that means that for that section, every Tuesday and Friday, that class is meeting from 11:45 to 1 p.m. So the next bubble shows a section that is an honor section. So it says 002H. That means you cannot take that course because it is an honor section, and you are not in the honors program, you are in the Abroad at AU program. So make sure when you're looking at the sections that you are not taking a section that has an H after it. We also have an example here of a class that has a prerequisite. So these are the types of things that we'll be looking at when we're doing your course clearances over the next few days if you want to take more advanced coursework, to make sure you've taken those introductory classes as Sarah was mentioning. So for this class, International Development, there's a prerequisite of SISU 105. And if you were to go up, you would see that that is basically an international relations theory course. So you'll have to have some kind of introductory international studies class in order to be able to take that course, and we will be looking at your transcript and seeing what courses you have and either clearing you or not clearing you to take those classes. And then finally, we have a red bubble that shows the credits for this course. So AU is run on a credit system, and as Sarah was saying, you need to have 12 credits. So for most classes, there'll be 3 credit options. There are a few classes that are 4 credits or 2 credits, and you can kind of work to make your schedule fit with that. But for the most part, you'll be taking 4 3-credit classes, and those will be listed right here on the schedule of classes. So
one thing to note about the prerequisites, if there are more than one prerequisite listed, you need to have the prerequisites for all of them. It's not an and or situation, or an or situation where you can do SIS 105 or 90 credit hours. In this case, you need to have meet both of those requirements. Some students think it's either or. And sometimes there are some courses that have as many as 4 or 5 prerequisites listed. You really do need to meet all of those prerequisites. Sometimes we get students who say, but my international development class at my university doesn't require a basic level the equivalent of a world politics type course. It doesn't matter. It's what classes are at AU, because you will need that basic understanding in order to succeed in the class at AU. It may be taught slightly differently than your class at home, and that's why you need that prerequisite. And one other note about the schedule, sometimes there is also a separate line. It might say Tuesday or TF, and then on another line it will have a W. Sometimes you will have, especially language classes tend to do that, when you have a Tuesday, Friday class from, say, 11:45 to 1, and then you have a shorter Wednesday class from a different time period. Again, just as with the Tuesday, Friday, you don't get to choose Tuesday or Friday or Wednesday. You have to do all 3 of them.
okay, so I'm going to go through and answer some of these questions that are relevant for us now. So is there a maximum number of courses that can be registered for, specifically if you are waitlisted for courses? So you need to make sure that you are registering for a full 12 credits, as Sarah said. If you are on the waitlist for a course, that will not count in your total credit. So if you're on the waitlist for a course, you need to also make sure you're registered for at least 12 credits. As far as a maximum, you can register for more than 12 credits at this point, and then decide if there is maybe a class that you don't want to take. We'll talk a little bit about the add drop period in a minute. But yes, it will not allow for you to register past 17 credits, which, as you know, is way more than 12. So you can definitely have an extra class on there if you would like. And again, we'll give you more details about that in the specific email that we send to you with your course clearance. So we will give you some more specific details because it does depend on your home institution a little bit to answer that question for you. Is there registration on a first-come basis? Yes. So registration is done on a first-come, first-served basis by credit at American University. So as far as getting into these classes and things like that, you will want to kind of know what course you want to take, and that is why we suggest that you give us your clearance and that you go ahead and register on Monday. That way you're able to get a spot into these courses as soon as possible. On Monday, can we register for classes we haven't applied or been cleared for? That depends on the class, but we ask that you please do send us everything because there are some things on the backside that we need to do to clear you for classes. Specifically, if your class does have a prerequisite, you will not be allowed to register for that course unless it's been approved by Sarah or myself, because we actually go into the system and manually allow for you to register for that class. So Claudia, we do suggest that you just send us everything, but if you do see a class that you are really interested in taking when you're registering or something like that, and you haven't been cleared for it, you may be able to register for it, but again, if it has a prerequisite, the system will block you out and it won't let you do that unless you have submitted everything. So what happens when I take a course this semester, which is a prerequisite for the fall? So as Sarah said earlier in this presentation, if you are taking a class this semester, you need to send us some sort of proof that you are enrolled in that class. And we understand you won't have a grade for it yet, but just if you want to send us a picture of your screenshot of your schedule this semester, or even a transcript that says in progress, then that's fine. We will be able to clear you for the class, but we will require that you then submit updated grades once you have received them at the end of this semester. That way we can see that you have successfully completed the course. But of course, we don't want to prevent you from taking a class in the fall if you're meeting that prerequisite this spring. So you are welcome to send us some sort of proof of enrollment in a class for this semester that's happening right now. What does no more than 90 credit hours mean? So that is a, basically what that means is it's for undergrad students at American University. So if you have less than 90 credit hours, then it probably means you're in your first, second, or maybe beginning of your third year of study. It will not be a concern for abroad at AU students because you technically don't have any credit in the American University system. So that won't block you off because your credit is being housed at your home institution, not here at AU, so you don't need to worry about that. So talking a little bit about the add drop period, the can I drop the classes after the semester starts. So there is a 2-week add drop period, which is what we kind of have as a flexible beginning to the semester where you can switch some of your courses around. And this is what I was talking about when I said you can have more than 12 credits and kind of maybe decide on which 4 classes you want to take, but you just need to know that that needs to be happening in the first week of class. So if you get off of the wait list and you want to switch one of your classes out or something like that, you will be able to do that, and you can make changes to your schedule through that first week. And it's actually really common that students do after they've attended a class or gotten recommendations from a roommate or something like that, that they do change their schedule. But we will be talking about that in depth at orientation because that add drop period will obviously happen once you're already here in Washington. Okay, so I think we hit on all of those questions. We're going to talk a little bit more about the waitlist and what that means at American University. So the waitlist is the only way to get into a class that is full. So basically what that means is that all of the spaces in the class have been taken, but that you would like to receive a spot should someone else decide not to take that class. So basically, it's a list of students who are wanting to get into a closed course. How it works is you will register for that class, which we'll talk about over the next few slides, and you will be placed onto the waitlist in the order that you registered, so sort of on that first come, first serve basis that we were talking about. If a spot in the class opens up, meaning that someone who is registered decides to drop the course, then a space becomes available to the first person on the list, and if they take it, then everyone moves forward. So if you're number 1 on the wait list, then you would be offered that spot, but if you're number 2, then you would just move to space number 1 and you're one step closer to getting into the course. So if another spot opens up after the first one, then it goes to the number 1 on the list and so forth until hopefully you are able to have a spot in the class. You're only allowed to be on 3 waitlists at any time, and you can only be on 1 waitlist for a course. So, for example, if you want to take International Business 300 and there's 4 sections, you can only be on the waitlist for 1 of those sections. If you are offered a spot off of the waitlist, then an email is going to be sent directly to you at your AU email address. So if you are on the waitlist over the summer, you want to make sure that you are monitoring that email because you only have 24 hours to claim your spot in the class. So basically how it works is you're put onto the list, somebody drops, you decide, you're number 1, you get offered a spot, you have 24 hours to then go in and register for that class, or it goes to the next person on the wait list and you're dropped from the list. So definitely make sure if you're on the wait list for a class you really, really want to take that you are monitoring that and making sure that you're paying attention to your AU email address. As far as movement on the wait list, it's probably going to move a little bit over the summer, but maybe not that much. Don't be concerned. A lot of movement and mobility in classes does happen during that add drop period I was talking about. So we can't guarantee that you'll get into a class, but if you're pretty low on the wait list, you're number 1 or number 2, then in August there is a likelihood that you will be offered a spot because a lot of students at AU are moving around their classes and kind of getting their final schedule just like you'll be doing during that first week.
And just to reiterate what Desiree has already said, if you are on the wait list, you are not registered for that actual course. So if let's say there are 5 classes that you really want to take, and you got into 3 of them and you were on the wait list for 2, that means that you still need to register for another course to get you to 12 credits.
Right.
So.
Okay. Just to answer the 2 questions, are we allowed to take 300, 400 level courses? Yes, if you meet the prerequisite. So for the most part, as we said a couple slides ago, 300 to 400 level courses are more advanced coursework. You need to have already taken introductory classes in that specific field or subject of study in order to be able to take those classes, and that is why we do the course clearance form so that we can go through and look at it. As part of your application, it was required that all students submitted an official transcript, so yes, that is what we will be using. That's why we require it in English and we require it to have grades so that we can then go through and use that to justify prerequisites. And just to repeat one more time, if you sent us that as part of your application and it didn't have your classes for this semester on it, then send us a separate confirmation of your schedule so that we can see what classes you may be taking this spring that can count towards your fall classes. All right, a final note about the waitlist, just to give you a little bit more information about monitoring it on your MyAU portal. You will be able to view under academics my waitlisted sections. As you can see, our lovely program assistant Ashley is currently on the waitlist for a course, so she gave us an example of what that will look like. It'll give you the course section, the title, and then all the way over, if you scroll, you'll see what WL position. That means that that is the position on the waitlist that you are. So Ashley, for example, is waitlist spot number 3, and we are all, fingers crossed, hoping that she will get into that exciting class for the fall semester. So this is one way just to see how close you are getting. So you'll be able to know whether you're position 8 and you don't really need to be checking your email that much, or whether you're position 1 and you should really closely be watching your waitlist for that notification email. So is it possible to get a spot off of the waitlist? It really depends on the course. If it's a class of only 15 people and you're number 8 on the waitlist, it's not likely. If you're in a class of 50 people and you're second on the wait list, then there is a high likelihood you'll get into that class. So it just kind of depends on the course. We can't guarantee anything, but for the most part, you'll be able to kind of see what position you're in and hopefully be able to get into that class. So you will stay on the wait list through the first week of classes during that add drop period that I talked about. And so that will be kind of the time period to know whether you're going to get into the class or whether you'll stay in the other additional courses you have registered for to be at 12 credits. You do need to have a placeholder class in your schedule, as Sarah just mentioned. So make sure you are at 12 credits, and then during that add drop period, you'll be able to register for your waitlisted section if you're offered a spot and drop your other class. So can I get a copy of these slides to see? Yes. The entire presentation will be available to you after this, so we're making sort of a recording of it, so you'll be able to hear the answers to these questions and see all of these slides to be able to find everything again. And in fact, the next part that we're going to go into is all about registering yourself, and the point of having this in the presentation is so that on Sunday night or Monday morning your time, you can go back and watch this again so you know exactly how to register. So for the next couple of slides, if you're taking notes or something, definitely keep doing that, but do know that you will be receiving a copy of this presentation that will tell you exactly what minute mark to go to learn more about registration. So what if the time of the class I am waitlisted and the one I already have chosen is the same? So that is a really great question, and timing is all of the essence. So you do need to make sure that your schedule works out so that you're not in 2 classes at one time, because obviously that will not work. What it means if you're waitlisted and you've already chosen one, it just means you're going to, the first week of class, you need to go to the class that's actually on your schedule. And then if you were to switch those 2 classes out, then you would go to your new class if you got off of the wait list. Yeah. But it doesn't become a problem to have a waitlisted and a registered class at the same time. The system will not allow you to register for 2 classes at the same time. So the first step for registering yourself will be going to your MyAU portal. So this is the student account that you created probably over the last week. I think most of you have done it. So you're just going to go to myau.american.edu and you'll enter your username and your specific password that you created. So your username is most likely 2 initials of the initials of your name, a couple numbers followed by an A, and then your password will be whatever unique combination or phrase or something that you came up with for your password. So you'll log into here. You're going to go to academics, and then you will scroll down and choose course registration. When you click on this link, the first screen that will come up is the course registration and add drop agreement prompt. So you'll just read through here. It basically says you understand that you're registering, and by registering you'll be a student in the fall, you'll agree to the academic integrity code, etc., etc., and then you will click agree. Once you click agree there, you'll be brought to this second page, which is the picture on the bottom, and that is basically asking whether you want to register or drop your courses. So on this page, you would click register and add courses, because obviously you don't have anything on your schedule yet, so all you can do is add them. In the future, if you get off of a wait list and you want to add yourself into that class and then go back and drop one of your placeholder classes, or maybe a class that you've decided you wanted to switch around, then that would be when you click drop courses. So for now, we'll click register, add courses, and that will bring us to the next page, which is where you're going to actually list out all of the information that you wrote down while you were creating your schedule back in the schedule of classes. So you'll arrive to this page, you'll fill out your subject, your course number, the specific section, And then your term, obviously, for all of them will be fall 2015, your grade, and then whether you want to be added to the wait list. On the next slide, we're going to go through what all of these different titles mean and what you'll actually be entering for those headings. Hi, Samuel Lucas. Thank you for joining us. I actually just said this, so great timing. We will be sending out a recording of this PowerPoint and this entire presentation. So definitely stay on and listen to the rest of it and let us know if you have any questions. But for all of you, we will be sending out a presentation and a copy kind of with our voiceover and our instructions and all of the slideshow for you. All right, so you get to this page, you're going to enter all this information, and like I said, here are the descriptions. So the subject is going to be the prefix of the course that you're taking. So if you're taking an anthropology course, you're going to write ANTH. If you're taking international business, you would do IBIS. If you're taking a course in SIS, you'll enter SISU. Again, you'll have written all of this down from your schedule of classes. Then you'll enter the course number for the specific course you'd like to take. So let's say it's 300, so you would enter 300, and then the section you want to take is the actual time and days of the week that class will be meeting. So you're going to be taking, let's say, course number 300, section 004. So you'll enter all of that in. You'll select term. So again, it will be fall 2015. Your grade type, for the most part, we suggest you do A through F. That means you're getting a full letter grade, which is how we score things here in the United States and at American University. So go ahead and select A through F. That means you'll be on the regular AU scale. You can take classes pass-fail, and we'll talk about this a lot during orientation and kind of maybe one-on-one with what your university requires or needs from you in order to transfer your credit back. You can also make changes to your grade type for a couple weeks into the semester, so don't worry too much about selecting one and it being locked in. Again, you can choose AF for now and then change it if you want to. You can't audit a class, so make sure you're not selecting that option. You need to choose A through F or PF. And then for the wait list, you're going to select no for any classes that are open, and for those classes you're getting a direct spot in. But if you are trying to add yourself to the wait list of a closed course, then this is where you would mark that. So you'll enter all the information just like your other classes, and then you would change it to say yes. So after you've put in all this information, it's going to look like this. So you'll have your classes listed with the course number, the section, the term, etc., etc. And then you'll see over here that a couple of them are going to be waitlist, and most of them are going to be direct registration. So once you have all of this entered, you'll click Verify Courses. And that's going to bring you to this page, which then goes through and gives you the title, the instructor, if there's been one assigned already. For the most part, you may not have an instructor yet, but that's okay. And then it will tell you the dates and times. So you can go back, check this against your schedule of classes, make sure you entered everything correctly, that you put the right section in and everything like that. So once you've checked and you've made sure that these are exactly the classes you want to take, they match up with your schedule, then you click our final button, the most exciting one, which says register. So when you get to this page, make sure you don't just close out because you see all the classes that you want. You have to actually click register in order for them to be added on to your student schedule. So you're going to click register, and it will bring you to your final page, which gives you the status of all of your courses and whether you've been registered for them or not. So you want to make sure under status that it says registered or waitlist if it may be that you added yourself to the waitlist. If you see a failed here, then it's going to tell you under meeting information why you were not able to be added to that class. And that's something that either you didn't submit it to be cleared, or it's a section that you're not eligible to take. It probably means it's one of the restricted classes that we listed before and you just forgot and you need to go find another class or something like that, or it wasn't something that Sarah or I had cleared you for. But for the most part, if you do all the steps leading up to it and you paid close attention to this presentation, then all of your courses will come up as registered, and that means that you have officially been added into that class and you will have a spot in the fall to take that course. If you see waitlist, it just means you've been added to the waitlist, and then you can monitor it through the site that I showed you earlier. And just keep in mind that does not tie into your actual credit count. So you'll want to make sure that if you're waiting on the wait list that you have 4 other classes that are on your schedule. So how competitive is registration? How likely would it be for us to register for the courses we've chosen? So registration is done on a first come, first served basis. So it depends on specifically what classes you're looking at. I would say at this point, if you're going through and you're looking at open courses and you're kind of deciding what you want to take, as long as you're registering, you should be okay. But I would say on Sunday or the day before you're going to register, go back into the schedule of classes and make sure that they're open and that they have space for you. So once you actually register, you are guaranteed a spot in the fall. I know for some universities that can be a little bit different, and you might put down a bunch of classes you want to take and only get 4 of them or something like that. For us, we're going to clear you for all the classes you submitted, and then you'll actually choose the 4 that you want to register for. And as long as you are specifically registered for them, then you are guaranteed a spot. So it's not going to be competitive past that. Great question. So what time is registration open on Monday? It will open at 12 a.m. midnight Eastern Standard Time. So just like you did for this presentation where you converted it to find out what time it was being offered for you wherever in the world you are, you'll do the same thing. And you can register anytime after midnight. It's not that you have to do it right at midnight. You can do it at any point during the day. Just make sure that it is at least officially Monday in Washington, D.C., basically. So as long as it's midnight on Monday Eastern Standard Time, then you'll be able to register. Good questions. Okay. So again, I know I went through that a little bit quickly. We will be sending out a recording of this so you can kind of go back through and pause as you go through the actual process for yourself and make sure that you're filling everything in correctly and letting us know if you have any questions as you go through the process.
Hello again, everyone. As a reminder, I'm Ashley, and I am the program assistant with Abroad at AU. And I get to do a lot of fun things throughout the semester, the first of which is help you guys through orientation and plan quite a few of the activities for orientation. So as Sarah and Desiree told you earlier in the presentation, you will be able to move into on-campus housing if you are living on campus on Saturday, August 22nd, excuse me. And we will actually begin our activities for orientation on Sunday. So what we will do is on Sunday and Monday, the activities will be optional, which means that you can decide whether you want to attend them or not. We definitely recommend that you do, because it's a great opportunity for you all to begin to learn the campus, learn where there are restaurants and stores in the local area, and of course, most importantly, get to know one another. And we will also have current students that will be with you throughout the process as your orientation leaders. We will start mandatory orientation on Tuesday, and on Tuesday and Wednesday, the 25th and the 26th, both of those days will be required for orientation. So you guys can mark on your calendars now that you will be with us both of those days for the entire day. A few of the topics that you can see on the screen that we will go over during those 2 days are document collection and immigration check-in. Part of the reason why we have this orientation is because it is required for all of you, for your visas, to be given an orientation about your academic studies. So it is very important that you're there and that you bring the documents that we ask you to bring. The second topic that we will go over is campus tours, and also help you all get your IDs for the university, as well as we will invite different student services to come and speak to you. So we will have counseling services, housing and dining. Those groups will come and also help us with orientation to let you guys know all of the things that you need to know about being students at American University. The next thing there is employment and visa regulations. As we touched on earlier, internships and employment are kind of tricky things to maneuver while you're on a student visa. So we will go over all of those details during orientation. And lastly, we have here the American Classroom and Academic Integrity. We know that all of your universities are very different and that the United States university system has its own culture, and we want to make sure that you guys are up to date and that you know what is going to be expected of you throughout the semester before classes even start. So we'll be going over all of these topics during those 2 days. The final day of orientation, which will be on Thursday the 27th, is called Snapshot DC. We are often told that this is one of the best days of orientation, possibly even the best day of the semester. What we do is we break all of you up into smaller teams, and you get to explore DC as a group with the current Abroad AU students and your orientation leaders. And it's kind of like a scavenger hunt. So we will give you clues and places that you need to go and send you off with a digital camera to explore the city. At the end of the day, we have a banquet where we display your photographs from the day, and the winning team is chosen based on your photos. So what we need you to do is, in your application portal, there is a question about whether you would like to participate in this day. If you would like to participate in Snapshot DC, you will have to select yes. I will be sending out an email to remind you about this later in the summer as we get closer to the day, but I certainly hope that you consider signing up, and if you are so moved, you can sign up as soon as you would like. The other program that I wanted to tell you about today is our Abroad at AU Buddy program. This is a little bit different than the orientation programs because this program goes on throughout the semester. What we do is we match our incoming Abroad AU students with a current AU student who has traveled abroad through our exchange program. So these students are American university students, but they have spent a semester or a year at some of your institutions. We pair you together with someone who we feel either has similar interests or maybe has been to the country that you're from. And we ask that the two of you meet up definitely in the first couple of weeks of school, and then throughout the semester, maybe once a month, or if you really click and you have a great friendship, hopefully you will meet up even more than that. For us, we think this is a great program just because it offers you a new friend on campus who is not an international student, who can help you learn the city, learn about the university, and you can ask them questions about professors or what is going to be expected of you with homework or reading. And they're also just a fun person to hang out with, maybe get lunch with. And we have had great success with this program, and some of our students have left with their AU buddy, not left with them, but being friends with their AU buddy for a long time. So this is similar to Snapshot DC. There's a question in your application portal. If you would like to participate in this program, just select yes. And as we get closer to orientation, we will reach out to you with your buddy's name, email, and where they studied so that the two of you can start to get to know each other even before you arrive in the United States.
Pretty much reached the end of our presentation. If you have any questions, we do ask that you email us. We're at abroad@au@american.edu. But separately, we also want you to like our main page on Facebook. We do put event things out on here, and there's more information about our program. Ashley does a fabulous job on it. So definitely like us. Separately, friend me. My name on Facebook is Sarah B. Harlow. I will be then able to add you into our extra secret special group just for the Abroad at AU 2015-2016 students, where you can start to get to know some of the other people who are going to be here next semester. We're very happy that you are able to join us. We're going to take questions next. But if you if you missed part of it, we will send out a link to it, as we mentioned. There will be a recording of this. Separately, if you came in late, because some students certainly did, you can also attend the other session this afternoon. It's going to be pretty much identical. Questions may be slightly different, but other than that, you are certainly free to watch it. And so you're free to go. We will be answering questions, though. If you want to stay on, you can certainly do so.
Okay, so the first question we have here is, where do dormitory students usually stay during the time they can't stay in the dorm? So in August, before you're able to move in, if you decide to come to Washington, D.C. a few days early or a week early, some students have stayed either with friends or family that they have in the area, or they've stayed in a hotel, maybe downtown. There's also a hostel, a youth hostel, that is available in Washington, so you are able to kind of stay wherever you want. For the most part, people are traveling around. So if you're going to be in Boston or Chicago, or you want to do California before you come to Washington, then that's what I would say most of our students are doing before the semester starts. As far as winter break, so if you're staying for the full academic year and you can't be here for the couple of weeks in December, again, most of our students pack a smaller suitcase and they really just travel around the United States. They take that as an opportunity to either go to Florida and get a little bit of warm sunshine, or California, or go home. So really, you're able to kind of travel around. There are no rules for that time. If you would like to stay in Washington, D.C. over winter break, as Sarah mentioned, you will be able to apply and pay for winter break housing that is on campus. It will not be your exact room, but it will be a spot on campus. So, and you can get a lot more information about that this fall. You're really ahead of the curve for that.
And we have a couple questions about internships. We are going to go into internship questions more in depth during the orientation program. But just for you to know now, you cannot get credit for an internship. You may be able to get a paid internship or an unpaid internship, but it does have to be related to what you're studying at American University. You will also have access to our Career Center, which has postings for job and internship opportunities. It also has, you can use the resources there to help you set up your resume. All of that we'll go over in depth we'll go over at our orientation in the fall.
So neighborhoods in the area that are popular or close by, some of the things you will be seeing most likely in your postings will be Tenleytown, Spring Valley, Glover Park, Friendship Heights. You may see Bethesda based on where you're looking. Those are the closest neighborhoods I can think of.
McLean Gardens,
Gardens,
Cleveland Park, Van Ness. Those are all that you might find. I believe some of the off-campus housing guides do include that. But if there's ever a question about, is this a place close by? Should I really be looking here? Is it safe? Etc., etc. Certainly send us an email. We can definitely help you with that. Can you repeat when we need to leave the dorm?
Yes. So at the end of the fall semester, so in December, the residence halls on campus will close at 12 p.m. noon on December 16th. So all students, whether fall semester only or academic year, will need to move out of campus housing. Not move out, but will need to leave campus housing or move out on that day, depending on whether you're leaving the U.S. entirely or whether you're coming back for spring semester. And then they will reopen at 3 p.m. on Sunday, January 3rd.
Are there any residences on campus that we are not allowed to choose? So you can choose anything that is available to you in your application. Anything that isn't available to you will not be in that application. Now, having said that, just because you put your preferences in, they'll do everything possible in the housing and dining office to try to meet those preferences, but they will ultimately put you where there is space. So they'll try to meet that, but there's no guarantees.
If you have already submitted your course clearance form, but you learned some useful information during today's presentation, then that is fine. Please just submit the additional classes that you would like to have cleared through that form. We highly encourage you do it by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. That way we can review them during this week. But go ahead and just send us, Amy, a course clearance form with some of those additional 100 and 200 level courses on there, and we will review those for you.
What if we couldn't get all our immunizations required by August 1st? So you can start, a lot of times what happens is students need to take, say, 3 doses of a certain immunization. You can start that at home and finish it once you come to the United States, but you do need to show that you are making progress on getting those immunizations. Is biking a common way of getting around? It's becoming more common, and it's certainly not like some European cities, but it's also not like the middle of nowhere in the United States. AU is at pretty much the highest point in Washington, D.C., which means that getting here, you're always going to have to go uphill, which some people do not like. There are certainly bike lanes in around D.C., less so in this area, but they are here. Students especially tend to have bikes probably more than the general population. But yeah, so you won't be out of the ordinary if you do get a bike to get around.
You do need to have the updated immunization form before getting it signed or cleared by your doctor, because it will have to say 2015 on there. But if you go to the Student Health Center website, which again, you can just Google American University Student Health Center, they will give you the list of shots and requirements that are on that form. So you can go ahead and start getting those. You don't need to have the form. Just know that if you go to your doctor and get that shot, you will then have to bring back the updated form once you have it to have him or her sign. But again, you can go to the Student Health Center website and be able to see exactly which immunizations are required by DC law.
What is the policy for missing classes? You will find that AU is probably different than a lot of your home institutions. Attendance is often a part of the grade. And it will be laid out very, very clearly in your syllabus what each professor expects. So it's not uncommon to see 10 to 20% of your grade being attendance being 10 to 20% of your grade. Some professors are more relaxed about it. Some don't really care. Some will only allow you 1 excused absence the entire semester. So it really does depend. There isn't a university-wide policy. It is professor to professor, class by class, and we'll go more into that at orientation, where students will actually probably tell you more their experiences with it.
All of the questions or concerns for immunization forms should be answered through the Student Health Center. So if you are going on to their website and reading through their facts and their information, then they will specifically let you know which shots, who needs to have what, and all of that answered. I don't know. Yeah. So as far as a specific polio question, if that is stated on the form or you're able to submit a proof based on a certain age or something like that, then you can do that directly through the Student Health Center. And then I'll just answer the next question. If you have AU health insurance, then yes, all of your immunization shots can be done right here on the Student Health Center. You may have what we call a copay in the United States, which basically means that for every visit to the doctor, you may owe $10 or $20 out of pocket, and that is going to be standard across any insurance that you have and any doctor that you visit, but the actual cost of the shot and the availability and everything will be taken care of right here at the Student Health Center on campus for your immunizations.
As far as the total price of the health insurance for the year, it's not actually $1,000. It's closer to $1,800. And the spring only cost is closer to $1,000, which means that you will be reimbursed at the end of the semester closer to $1,000, I believe. Any other questions? All right. I think that is all the questions we have. If you do have any follow-up questions, feel free to send them to us by email. We will certainly get back to you on that. It was great having everybody here and asking all your questions. And
yep, we are super excited to have all of you join us in the fall. So definitely be in touch. Be checking your email. We will still be sending a lot of information to you.